welcome to the Week 9 edition of the LL Football Preview Show here on GameTimePA.com. I'm John Buffone, with me is Andrew Callahan of the Lebanon Daily News. Pat Huggins is a little under the weather today, so we shall carry on.
We will, but before we do, we'd like to announce that we want to wish our best to Pat and hope that he gets better, and in order to expedite that process, we're going to start a hashtag. We're going to spread around the hashtag Feel Better Pat in order to raise sinus awareness. For every retweet we get after this video, we will donate $1 to said cause that I might have just made up.
Maybe a penny, maybe $1, maybe nothing. Maybe this is all satire, but feel better, Pat. Hope your sinuses clear out for you. Anyway, we do have some football to talk about. Week 9 is a pretty intense week. We got 3 interesting games to break down. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off with a Section 3 clash between Northern Lebanon and Donegal. Northern Lebanon can get a share of the Section 3 title this week if they can travel to Donegal and take care of business. However, the Indians, since losing to Elko 3 weeks ago, have outscored their opponents 67-14. Not going to be an easy task for Northern Lebanon.
No, well, they haven't been on the road for a while, and this is actually very similar to last year when the Vikings clinched a share of their first section title since 1991 against the Indians at home. For them, they've just got to keep the ball rolling. I mean, Isaac Wanger has been the best player in the Section 3 the past couple of weeks with outstanding performances against Elko and Anvil-Cleona, other good teams within the section and rivals as well. If he keeps it going like that, I think it's hard to imagine Northern Lebanon being anything else but back-to-back section champs, their goal since the beginning of the season. But it will be a stiffer test, as mentioned, on the road, and Donegal's been playing well. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out. In addition to Wanger, the advantage for the Vikings has always been up front. And when you've got so much weight and force coming at you, there's only so many things you can do X and O's-wise to negate that. But if Donegal can hang in there early, they can control the game on their own with their run game, and anything happens in a tight game in the fourth quarter.
Should be a good one. This is, like I said, Section 3 wide open throughout the entire year. Anything can happen. Let's go up to Section 2, where the next game we're going to talk about could be a track meet, and it could be over in about 45 minutes. The Cocalico hosting Solanco, the unbeaten Golden Mules. Both these teams run a run-heavy veer offense. They run the ball a lot with the quarterback. They run the ball a lot with fullbacks, tailbacks, 25 different tailbacks. They run it with the receivers, and they'll throw the ball maybe twice a game. But so far, the Golden Mules are undefeated, the only Class AAA team in District 3 that are still undefeated. Cocalico right now on the outside looking in the number 19 spot. They dropped a rough 21-15 decision to Mannheim Central last week. They had their opportunities. It was kind of a sloppy game, but they just couldn't come through in the end there. This would be a big game to help their cause in the playoff picture as far as districts go. Section 2 probably out of reach for the Eagles, but Solanco wants to stay ahead of Mannheim Central. This would be a big game for them to win as well, because they would get a share of the Section 2 title. When you have two offenses like this, it's just, like I said, track meet.
Yeah, and it's also sports writer's dream, because running the ball keeps the clock running, and of course everyone has deadlines, but for the things that you care about, beginning with Cocalico, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're on the outside looking in right now. Of course, still 2 weeks to go with respect to district power rankings and playoff berths, but a win over the Golden Mules, I think, would put them in. And of course, many different things can shake out, but they are going to face their toughest test of the season, and again, have to follow that up with some heartbreak last week against the Barons. And for Solanco, I mean, 10-0 is very much within reach. They're going to have their own showdown with Central next Friday, and I think there's so much on the line for both that it will just come down to who can stay within themselves the most and go to those fundamentals. And of course, Cocalico might have to get maybe a gadget player or two in there to spark themselves early and see if they can get up on Solanco, which has hardly trailed this season at all.
A lot of athletes on both sides of the ball. Both teams very well coached. Quarterback for Cocalico, Dante Haynes. Fullback Hunter High. A very deadly combination there. But you go on the other side with Solanco, where you got Noah McCardle and Robbie Hassel, which has been a cocktail for success all throughout this season. So it's going to be an interesting game in Denver on Friday. Last one we're going to talk about, we're going to move up to Section 1. Yep, Cedar Crest and Conestoga Valley. Cedar Crest, they're within, a shot of the Quad A playoffs right now in District 3. If they can possibly win out, finish at 500, they're going to have a shot here. But they're going to have to try to contain a Conestoga Valley offense that loves to throw the ball with Grant Stoltzfus at quarterback.
They do. At CV, the last couple of weeks has struggled against Section 1 Powers, Wilson, and Hempfield, and combined 15 points in those games. Meanwhile, Cedar Crest, you said it, they're on the verge of making districts for the first time in years. And you don't say that very often about 3 and 5 teams. But here's the deal with those 5 losses for the Falcons, is that heading into last week against McCaskey, the teams that have beaten them had a combined 6 losses themselves. So it's been a high-quality season. It feels like the Falcons have been snake-bitten time after time again. But the good news is that they get to come home after a 4-game road trip that finally ended with that win over the Red Tornado down in Lancaster last Friday. Now they're going to have winnable games against CV and then Penn Manor should they advance past Stoltzfus and company this weekend. But I think Cedar Crest is really primed to make that run. They've just got to take care of business, which they finally did against McCaskey, and I think they'll be able to build on it this week.
A lot of interesting matchups in sections 1, 2, and 3. District playoffs are right around the corner. Who is going to soar? Who's going to plummet? I guess we won't know until the games are played on Friday. That's why they play them. But that about does it for the LL Football Preview Show here on GameTimePA.com. Thank you for tuning in. For updates on all your favorite games, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, enjoy the games this weekend. Feel better, Pat.